Hello, this is Roland. Today I want to talk about a very beautiful verse from the Bible. It's actually what Jesus said in his prayer to the Father shortly before he was to face his passion. And he said, let me find it here. He said, this is in the Gospel of John, chapter 17, verse 16. He said to the Father, he said, I'm not asking you to take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. Okay? Now, what you often hear is this expression, which I love this expression, and I use it a lot myself. I say that we are to be in the world, but not of the world. In the world, but not of the world. Okay? Now, what does that mean, to be in the world, but not of the world? Well, let's talk about it. You see, the person who is in the world, look, the way we're born in our fallen condition, which we can't help. You can't help the way you were born. You can't help the circumstances you were born in, and you can't help the nature you were born with. You were born with a fallen nature, which you inherit from your parents and their parents and their parents and their parents, all the way back to Adam and Eve. So you're born into a world, and you're also born into a system, if you will, a matrix, a milieu, an environment. And this environment shapes and molds you. Okay? Just like let's say a deer or a squirrel, okay, born in the forest, let's say. The environment of the forest, everything that happens there, everything from the grass and the moss and the trees and the weather and everything about it, not to mention other animals, okay, has some kind of a shaping effect upon the deer. It's an environment for the deer. Now, the deer is born with a nature, okay, the nature of a deer, which is pretty steady, that nature. Nevertheless, that nature needs to be sustained, and it's the environment that sustains it, that sustains the deer, okay, or the squirrel or whatever. Just like you can see that it's very obvious in the case of a fish. Okay, a fish is born in the ocean. It's very obvious to see how that ocean sustains the fish. Okay, that's very, very obvious. Okay, well, a human being is born with a nature, a fallen nature. And this fallen nature, okay, is sustained by the environment. Okay, now this fallen nature is what we inherit. It goes all the way back to Adam and Eve. So we fell from the spiritual to the animal. So we have animal nature. In other words, we have a body. We have to eat and drink and sleep and do all the things that animals do, okay, reproduce and everything that animals do. And we have an ego, a little pride, if you will, a certain pride, which we're born with, which we also inherit. This fallen nature with a little bit of inherited pride in it. Now this has to be sustained. Can you see that? It has to be sustained, just like the deer's nature has to be sustained. Now remember, none of this is your fault. None of this you can help. Okay, it's just the way it is. Okay, it's what it is. Well, so how is this ego nature? Now we understand how the animal nature is sustained. We understand food and water and clothing and shelter and nurture and vitamins and minerals and air and oxygen, and we understand all of that, okay? But how about this ego nature? Well, this ego nature is sustained by by culture. by culture, and specifically by tease. See, the ego nature came into being a long time ago in the Garden of Eden. It came in through tease, through challenge. If you think about it, see, if you read the story, you think about the serpent. What he did was he challenged Adam to be more prideful, to try harder. Just like people challenge you to get better grades, try more, achieve more, make more, do more. See? Well, the serpent challenged Adam. It was a tease, actually. A tease of some sort. A sophisticated tease. Adam went for it. And when he did, he fell away from what he had before, which was paradise. And he fell into a jungle hell. And then he had to be sustained by this jungle hell. Okay? Now what is it that sustains the ego? Well, love and hate. Challenge. And support. So the ego is teased, challenged, prodded, goaded, pressured, and then supported in however it grows under under this pressure, this tease. So the person becomes more prideful, a bigger beast, more animal, more angry, more resentful. See, more ambitious, more devious, more sneaky, more selfish. See? So we're born with an ego nature that's a bit selfish. That's what you inherit. It's not your fault. And that needs, this ego nature craves and needs ego support. And the ego support is the two teases of love and hate. People hate you, and you resent them, and then that gives you a drive to prove something. See, to get even, to become something. See, or they love you as you are, the prideful thing that you are, the wimpy thing that you are, the people pleaser that you are, the ambitious thing that you are. See, they support and comfort and tease, and if you don't try hard enough, then they give you a hard time until you try hard enough, and then they comfort you. See, so support you. So that's what you get from the world, all manner of tease and comfort, from the most sophisticated, to, and it seems like everyone sees it's their bounden duty to make something of you. See, if they let you alone, see, to develop your talents naturally in a timely way, and what talents you are blessed with, then you would flower to become an Einstein or a Ruth or a Sojourner Truth or a Susan B. Anthony or a Madame Curie, see, or a George Washington or a Frederick Douglass, see, or Moses, or Jeremiah, Paul, see. But instead, through tease, see, too much too soon or too little too late, something wrong, something to get you upset, something to confuse you, something to anger you, something to intimidate you. And so you are shaped as a bigger and bigger ego. And then you have conflict because of the way you're being shaped by the world, the teacher. See, everyone feels it's their bounden duty to make something of you. What? To make a bigger animal of you, a bigger beast, a more prideful, more selfish, more ambitious. See, more of a people conformist, a bootlicker. See, that's what they make of you. So all the teachers and the professors and the coaches and the administrators and the parents, and see, so they all go to work on making you more and more ambitious. Pressure, pressure, pressure. See, ambitious for knowledge, ambitious for money, ambitious, see, religiously ambitious, to be better, to be nicer, to be, to do more. See, just All these different. So then what do you end up with then? Well, you end up with people that are very selfish. They can't help it. See, that's the way they were pressured. And see, they get you coming or going. So let's say you're not naturally selfish. You're not naturally, well, you are a little bit naturally selfish. But let's say that you're not naturally ambitious. You don't want to step over other people, to get ahead and get better grades and knock everybody down to build yourself up. See, you don't, or to win for the team, for the coach, for the school, and you win and somebody else loses. And see, maybe you're not. Well, then they pressure you and prod you and tease you. They say, what's the matter with you? You don't have any gut. They call you lazy. They call you a troublemaker. They call you antisocial or confrontational or disorder or something or other. Well, then what's going to happen? What happens then? Well, you either drop out. You drop out of the system, drop out of school. But then what do you need? See, you need support. This ego nature that you have craves support. So then you have to get support from somewhere. So if you don't get it from the teachers and the coaches, see, and all of those types, well, then who do you get it from? Well, then you get it from gang leaders, drug dealers, see, or from food or from entertainment. See, they all comfort you. So you can receive comfort from your music and your video games and your marijuana and your friends. See? So there's that pressure. And then I talked about the teachers and coaches and professors and all those types and the ministers and all of them. They're all pressure, pressure, pressure and support for what they make of you. See, you become a goody two-shoes and a bootlicker, then they praise you for that. If you're ambitious, the kind that will succeed in an ambitious corporate environment somewhere, then they support that. See? Well, okay. So this ego nature needs comfort from somewhere. All right, and support from somewhere. So now you see how. But what I was going to say is they get you coming and going. So if you don't drop out, see, and there you are, and they're pressuring you, then what do? You resent it. You resent. You hate the pressure. But not they get to you that way. You either give in or you hate it. Either way they got to you. They divert you from what? From the potential. Now I said we all have this fallen nature, this animal nature, and this ego nature, this little bit of pride that needs support. Now ideally, if you came from a home with good parents who had understanding and wisdom, okay, especially father, had understanding, then you would have a little bit of support. Little tiny children need some nurturing and so on, comfort, see, and support, ego support. They need a little bit of that, okay? And then as they grow older, there's a little bit of tease. You can't help it. There's going to be some. From other kids, from siblings, there's going to be some. Okay, but within bounds, not excessive. And the father makes sure that the child is not pressured. See, doesn't go to school and get pressured. Maybe he homeschools the child. For example, a lot of places it's legal to homeschool. So he homeschools the child. That's just an example. Make sure the child is not being pressured, not being degraded. See? Well, then that child can then grow, see, with a little bit of ego support. And then it's the father's job, the good father, the noble father, the wise father, to gradually wean the child from this ego support so the child can become independent. See? So as the child matures, it becomes a big ego, still a big ego, but a natural ego, not having been corrupted by drugs and too much socialization and too much music and too much texting and too much and pressure and ambitious pressure and grade pressure and all of that. Then the child is still a big ego, but a natural ego, okay, natural, not corrupted. And then the child then, as now an adult, see, remember I said we're born with this fallen nature, but there's potential. And that potential is to one day, see, through yearning for it, and through loving it and wanting it, to then begin the journey. See, this is a big deal. To begin the journey to transcend the fallen nature. And to transcend the fallen nature ultimately leads to eternal life. See? And a total transformation of the person. See, mind, soul, and body. To transcend death. See, where the body translates, so it becomes, does not die. See? And the soul, loving God, then a new nature then comes within. The new nature comes that is supported by and nurtured by the good Lord. See, this new nature. And then this new nature grows in stature to become then a very noble soul, a great soul. And this great soul, with it the body is also upgraded. See? But it begins very delicately and very subtly as a young person, see, having a sense of right and wrong and a keen sense of justice and wishing to see what is right prevail and sometimes standing up for what's right. See, even though he may lose approval by standing up for what's right, that type of thing, see? And then going as far as he can on his own, but then he sees that he reaches a point where he sees that to go any farther, he can't do it on his own. He can't pull himself up by his own bootstraps, see? And then delicately God then enters with this whole process called salvation. Begins with repentance. And that may happen when he's maybe, or she's 40 years old. Usually, you know, the first half of life is for growing up and discovering and enjoying God's great earth and universe. And doing all the things that kids do. And then learning a trade and developing skills, maybe starting your own business, perhaps getting married, having children. All of this is the first half of life. And then the second half of life is where the journey toward the spiritual side then really begins. Okay? So now you see we have a fallen nature, okay, which needs to be understood, not condemned or condoned. See, condemning it. Some people condemn fallen nature. That's not the answer. But then others are condone it. You know, let everything hang out and do what you will and go for the gusto and eat, drink, and be merry and, you know, that kind of stuff. So they support it. So it's neither to be condemned or condoned. It's to be understood. See? So that's what I'm doing here. I'm talking about it in such a way that maybe you can begin to flash on little, see, on, as I'm talking, begin to see and say, wow. See? So you have this potential. But this potential then, the development of that potential is in the hands of God. And when it starts to begin, this journey towards salvation, when it will begin, I can't tell you, but it begins at a certain point. Like I said, a lot of times it's the second half of life. Okay? Well, okay, and it's not in the hands of man. The only thing that other people can do is set a good example and perhaps talk about things as like I'm talking about them now, so you can see. Okay? Or they can confirm on the outside what you know on the inside. See, that's what a good father is for. When you were a little child and, you know, other kids were doing rotten things, but you knew in your heart it wasn't right. See, you just knew what they were doing wasn't right. So your father said, that's right, that's not right. Okay? So father confirms, right, what you already know in your heart. That's what a good father will do. So that's about all people can do on the outside. Can leave you some clues, can tell the truth, can sometimes admonish you. See, that's real love. Someone who, instead of being supportive, instead of teasing you or being supportive, admonishes you for something you did wrong, for example. See? Well, see, and of course it doesn't feel good because we have this prideful nature that is doesn't like to admit it's wrong, doesn't like criticism. But there's a part of you. See, it's like there's part of you likes it. You like someone that's strong and good and noble and stands for what's right. See, you like that. See, and that's what women need to see in their husband. They need to see that quality, see, in him, so they can respect it. See, I write about that in my books about marriage and relationships. I've got 2 of them. They're both very good. You should get them. The Myths and Mysteries of Marriage. You get that one first, and then the second book, Putting the Forever Back in Love. You can get them at my website or on Amazon. It looks like this is going to be a 2 or 3 part talk, doesn't it? I began by saying, by Christ's words, he said, well, what did Christ say? Christ said, he said, they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. Okay? And from that we get the expression to be in the world, but not of the world. So now you see, you have to find, so what is the connecting link from the ego to the world? What is it? It's emotion. Emotion is the link. And emotion is what keeps you of the world. Okay? So beware of emotion. Okay? Because that's why we all know that as people mature, they should become less emotional, more reasonable. Right? More reasonable, less emotional. We all know that. Okay? Well, now you can see that what keeps you as you are, a fallen ego, keeps you tied down so you can't rise, is emotion. And so what is the bond? What will then be the bond to this other world, of which you sense is there, a world of principle and honor and good and truth. See, another world above the sewer. See, above all the backbiting and backstabbing and the tease and the cruelty and the violence and the stealing. See, these are all the tease and the stealing and the violence. Above all of that, you sense it's there, and you need to find it. And then what will be the link to it? It will be faith. Emotion connects you to the world, and faith connects you to this other. See how important faith is? And it hinges on belief. See? So all you've known is of the world. See, the way the world is, get even, get over on people. See, get yours. See, hate them as they hate you, resent others as they resent you, put other people on, support egos, build them up so you can build yourself up. That's, see, tease. That's all. See, that's the way of the world. But the thing is, don't you know in your heart that that's not right? That that's not the way to go? You do, don't you? Okay? Well, see, what you know in your heart, what you wordlessly know in your heart, that's what you have to start learning to trust and believe instead of doubting it. See, you doubt this noble way, and see, you are overwhelmed by the world and its trickery and its charm and its confusion. So you have to doubt the world and believe what you know in your heart. Okay? Well, okay. So now you see, to be in the world but not of the world. So now you understand. Perhaps you can see why, for example, I talk about my meditation so much. So I'm going to stop the video at this point, but I just want to mention the meditation. Can you see how, if you have by meditating, you learn to stand back. You learn to stand back and observe emotion and observe the images in your mind that come in from the world. See, through emotion, through reacting, and observe them without falling into them. See, in the same way as you can, there can be a television at the other end of the room blaring away, and it doesn't interest you. It goes in one ear and out the other, which is quite different than getting into the television and being fascinated and fixated on it. You see the difference? See? So you need a little distance, a little bit of distance. You go out in the world like a ballerina. You go out and float through life. See? You flow through life, and without being impinged upon, without reacting and becoming upset, and having it get inside. That's how it gets inside when you react, when you resent, when you become angry, when you want something too much. Instead, there's a little bit of distance. So you can still exercise and work and be a mom or a dad and do everything, but just not so emotional. So you have a little distance. And the meditation helps you to acquire that. See? So you're in the world but not of the world. See? And you're self-impelled instead of moving by reacting to things. Well, I've given you a little hint of how the meditation fits into being in the world but not of the world. And perhaps we can talk about that, which I talk about in all my videos anyway, so you just watch any other video and it'll be there. But I would like to make another one that is a follow-up to this one, so I'll do that.